Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Beanie and welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be talking about the hitting stream, the offense stream from yesterday. San Diego Studios had about an hour-long development stream where they went over all of the new offensive changes that are coming to MLB The Show. They also had a defensive stream that happened a little earlier in the day, and I'm also gonna do a video on that, but I want to have that video out by later this afternoon, but I got kind of a late start to the day. I kind of slept in, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to it today, but if not, that video will definitely be out tomorrow. But once again, be on the lookout for it today, because I'd say it's about 50-50 on whether or not it's going to come out later. Anyway, this stream was awesome. It gave us a lot of insight into the changes that are going to be coming to MLB The Show 19. It also kind of gave us insight into what developers are thinking whenever they make the changes that they do. Like, they talk about combating the meta and all that. Like, whenever a meta is figured out, that it's their job to counter that meta and to kind of keep that going. I don't think they did a particularly good job of that in MLB 18, but it is kind of interesting to see that they're making that effort moving forward. We're not going to talk a whole lot about that today. We're going to talk about mostly the structural things, the coding things, and all that they're doing to make the game better and to make our quality of life better. So let's go ahead and get into that. Okay, so the first thing that they talked about was bunting and how they are trying to make bunting a part of the game again. All of you guys know that in MLB 17 and 18, they wanted to combat bunt cheese, which everybody was for. Everybody freaking hated bunt cheese. It was awful. And the way they decided to do that was to make bunts basically useless. Every bunt would come off the bat really, really hard. It'd get to the third baseman really quick, and he'd throw you out. And there was basically no way to, like, sack bunt or bunt for a hit, because sack bunts would turn into double plays, and bunt for hits would always be outs. No way to drag bunt or anything like that. But this year they're doing it a little bit different. It's going to be more about the situation that you find yourself in. It's going to be situational. So if you have a runner on first and your pitcher coming up, that's an obvious spot that you might want to bunt. So bunting will work in that situation, or it'll have a chance of working in that situation. And then if you have a guy that is in the shift and you want to bunt against the shift, and you have D Gordon up there with a really high bunt rating, you bunt it to the left side, and sometimes it'll work for you. It's not, you know, they didn't guarantee success or anything like that, and it is still going to be hard to get down, but it should work a good number of times. And that's great, because bunting is a part of the game. Bunting is something that should be a part of MLB The Show as well, but it has to be a part of the game where it can't be exploited. And they even said in the stream that if you're spamming bunting, like bunting over and over and over and over and over again, it will punish you and you won't get on base nearly at all. You know, eventually it is going to start catching up with you. And one way that they do this is by having the fielders be aware of what's going on. So if you have a guy that's dropping down bunts just left and right in the game, the third baseman is going to recognize that, and he's going to start to creep up a little bit. And, you know, he'll be able to cover all of those bunts, all those drag bunts, sack bunts, whatever. He'll be able to cover them pretty easily, and I think that's a good way to combat it. Now, I do think that an interesting meta might pop up where early in the game, you know, you bunt a ton to get the corner infielders to move in on the grass, and then maybe that'll help you offensively. Like, if that hurts them defensively, if you hit a rocket at them or something, then maybe that might be something you want to do, is to bring them in on the grass, and then for the rest of the game just try to pull balls down the line that they can't get to. That could be an interesting meta if defense is the way that I think it's going to be this coming up year. But for the most part, the changes to bunting were spot on. I really like them. I do think that it would have been better if they had put a PCI in for bunting. That's something me and Cardinal Bird have talked about that a lot, about how bunting really could be fixed a lot for the most part just by adding like a PCI to it to make it to where bunting was a skill-based thing. And it's still not. It's not a skill-based thing. It's still just kind of a situational thing. But for the most part, these changes are good. They did make one change where before the pitch comes, you can influence which direction you want to bunt it. If you want to bunt it to the right, the first base side, or the third base side. That's pretty cool. You know, that's something that we haven't had before. I think you could kind of influence where the ball was going to go a little bit, but not really. I mean, there was really no way of doing it the past few years. So yeah, that's really cool. If you have a man on second and you want to bunt him over to third with nobody out or something, or well, yeah, nobody out or something like that, you can do it now. You can bunt it to the right side, or you can bunt it to the left side to draw the third baseman in so you can get there safely. So, yeah, that is it for bunting. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to talk about is something that was a major problem in this year's game, and that is just general pitch speed and tuning. Off-speed pitches in 18 were way too powerful. Basically unhittable for the most part. You could spam pitches over and over and over again and never get punished for it. You could spam pitches up in the zone that were, for whatever reason, really hard to hit, and you wouldn't get punished for it. And fastballs were basically useless because they were so slow. It was just way too slow. Even at the hardest difficulties, it was really slow. And none of that should be a problem this year. Now, I just want to say, because I know I'm going to get a lot of comments in the comment section saying SDS has done this before and it never works out well. They always promise a bunch of things. They always overpromise and underdeliver on these things, and it's going to be terrible and all that. I get where you're coming from. I do. Because SDS has screwed up in the past, and they have made things worse rather than make things better and everything. But I gotta say, every year up until this year, during the development streams, I would always see something and I'd be like, okay, that's cool, but we have to see how you implement it. We have to see like how good it's gonna be, and like it could be exploited, and like this doesn't seem right. This year, I don't really feel that, at least not yet. All of these changes, or at least 90% of the changes that I've seen in this stream, look to be pretty positive, pretty straightforward. They seem to be changes that I could get behind, and they seem to be changes that cater to the entire community, not just like either the best players in the world, like the serious players like me, or the casual players who play on, you know, rookie or veteran difficulty. It looks like they're trying to cater to both crowds, because on the upper end, they have made pitch speed a lot faster. And I don't know how much faster. I don't know if it's going to be MLB 15 speeds, which was really, really fast, or MLB 16 speeds, which was still pretty fast, but a little bit slower, or just slightly above MLB 18 speeds, because that's what we're used to. I don't know. But hopefully it's somewhere in between MLB 15 and MLB 16, because if you're playing on Legend difficulty, it needs to be really hard to hit. I mean, it just needs to be. The players up there are too good to, you know, have a huge PCI with balls coming in super slow, and it's just not viable. You have to... you have to get those speeds up there and make it a lot harder to hit, but still fair to hit. That's the important thing. This year, it felt like it was easy to hit, but it felt like it wasn't fair, because sometimes you were like, I'm doing everything right, but I'm not getting rewarded. Hopefully that's something that's fixed this year, and with the pitch speeds going up, that's something that'll really help that. Also, another change that is coming is all off-speed pitches across the board, except for sliders, have been nerfed. So that's a huge thing, because if you guys don't know, like, off-speed pitches, change-ups, splitters, knuckleballs, curveballs, all these pitches were super OP this year, and you could get away just spamming them over and over and over again. As long as there was just like a little bit of variation, you could get away with it and probably, you know, throw a shutout. Like, you weren't going to get hit that hard. And also they didn't talk about sinkers, but for the past like 3 or 4 years, sinkers have been one of the hardest pitches in the game to hit. Like sinkers have been really, really OP. I didn't see them talk about that a ton, but I don't know. Maybe sinkers will be nerfed a little bit too, but they're going to be coming in faster. I wonder what their trajectory is going to look like in MLB The Show 19. I kind of wish they would have touched on that, but they didn't, so that's fine. And why did they put this section in the offensive section? I guess because pitching and offense kind of go hand to hand from a developmental standpoint, so that's why they did it. Also, this is another big thing. For the past few years, one of the biggest things about pitching was that if you were halfway decent with pure analog pitching, you could locate every single pitch on a dime. I could throw that, righty on righty, that outside slide, that low and away slider. I could paint that on the corner like 70% of the time, just perfectly placed right on the corner. And it was one of my go-to pitches whenever I was in a righty on righty situation. And similarly, any pitch, I could put it anywhere on the zone on a dime, about 70-80% of the time in MLB The Show 18. That's not going to be the case in MLB The Show 19. It's going to be much harder to locate, even if you're really good with pure analog pitching, or that's what they're saying. Now, this is one of those things that I think that they could be kind of blowing smoke, because I really don't know how you're going to control that if you're just going to make the interface a lot looser to where mistakes are more exaggerated. I don't really know. Other than that, I really don't know how you're going to control for that. Like, if you have someone who's just pinpoint accurate with pure analog pitching, what are you going to do? But we'll see how that goes. That's one of those things that I think they could be blowing smoke. But if they're not, and locating pitches is a lot more difficult, it's a great thing, because it's a huge advantage for a pitcher to be able to locate as well as you could the past few years in MLB The Show. And if you're a little bit more sporadic, that's going to help offense, and it's just going to be a good thing overall. Also, a lot of people noticed that split fingers and knuckleballs were really OP last year. Like, you had guys like Bruce Sutter or Luis Tiant or Phil Niekro that were just incredibly difficult to hit for a lot of people. I seem to do okay against knuckleballs most of the time. Sometimes I would struggle. I don't know. I was kind of inconsistent. But those guys are going to be nerfed now. They are not going to be as good. They'll still probably be like effective enough, but they're not going to be, ridiculously overpowered next year. So that's a good thing. Okay, next up is, in my opinion, the biggest change to MLB The Show 19. This is the thing that I think they should really be harping on, and really driving home, is that contact hitters now have value. Hopefully they're trying to make them just as valuable as power guys by nerfing power guys' ability to make contact with the ball, making it a lot easier to strike out with guys like Joey Gallo or Chris Davis or Chris Carter or Ryan Schimpf or guys like that, making it a lot easier to strike out with those guys, and also making contact hitters have higher exit velocities, hit more line drives, hit more gappers. And that's exactly what we saw in the stream. That's what they said. They said that power hitters are going to strike out more often, and contact hitters are not going to strike out as much, and they're going to be hitting the ball into the gap. Last year, it felt like if you were a contact hitter, that you were swinging like a feather. Like, whenever you made contact with the ball, I mean, you could make the most solid contact possible, and it'd still just be like an 80-mile-per-hour little bloop, and the second baseman catches it. It was ridiculous. But now, even if you're a contact hitter, you can square a ball up. You can hit it 100-plus exit velo. You can hit a lot of line drives, a lot of gappers. You can hit home runs, even though they're not going to be as common. I think now they're kind of approaching the contact power dynamic from more of a launch angle standpoint than a exit velocity standpoint. I still think power guys are going to have higher exit velocities, but I think that they may have adjusted the angle that the ball leaves power hitters' bats, and adjusted the angle that it leaves contact hitters' bats, so that more often you're going to be getting those little frozen ropes into, you know, right center field, and, you know, bloopers that not bloopers, but, you know, just nice little base hits over the infielder's head, and then those hard hit squared up gappers. You're going to be seeing a lot more of those, and it's just a great thing that contact hitters are more viable overall, because I mean, I really kind of miss the days of MLB 15 and MLB 16 where you could have Ichiro at the top of your lineup, and then you could have, you know, like a guy like Tony Gwynn. Well, Tony Gwynn's never really been all that viable because he came in 17, didn't he? Yeah, well, you know what I mean. D. Gordon, Ichiro guys at the top of your lineup, and then, you know, you have like a Dustin Pedroia kind of guy at number 2, and then your power guys come in, and then you put your lineup together a lot more strategically back then, instead of just having to have power up and down your lineup. And it would have been awesome to have, you know, those Jackie Robinsons or Cal Ripken immortals to be, you know, every bit as good as the other immortals were, just not as powerful. You know, rely on their defense and stuff, which it seems like is going to be a lot more important this year, but we'll get into that in another video. But it's just great that these contact hitters are going to be viable again. It just really sucks that it's going to happen the year that I think that they lose their rights to Ichiro, because I was really looking forward to playing with another Ichiro card. Please, somebody sign Ichiro. The man still wants to play. I know he's not that good anymore, but man, I need my Ichiro flashback. So please, someone sign Ichiro so we can get him back into the game. Even if it's the Braves, I don't care. You sign him. You know, he's not going to be any good, but whatever. Okay, and the final thing that they talked about was just swing analysis and timing your swing and your approach to the PCI. And this year they said that they were wanting to focus more on the importance of timing, you know, not over PCI placement, but in cahoots with PCI placement. You know, like, timing has always been really important and everything, but what they did last year is they really opened up the timing window to make it just not very good, and you got a lot of really weird hit results because of it. And they may have even done that in 17 and 16, whenever late hits and stuff like that. The timing window has just always been kind of funky, you know. But now they've really narrowed that down to when you know you have like perfect swing timing, and then just like kind of good swing timing, average and below average kind of swing timing. You're going to be punished a lot more for moving down that list, and you're going to be rewarded a lot more for kind of centering that up and having perfect timing. PCI placement is still going to be important, but it did seem like that even if you don't have God level PCI skills, as Ramon said, that you could still, you know, be an okay player by just having good timing. I really hope that doesn't mean that like pure analog hitting or directional hitting is going to be viable this year. Like, you should still have to use a PCI if you want to be a god at this game, but still, like, yeah, I guess it is good that they are viewing hitting as more of like a three-dimensional thing instead of a mostly two-dimensional thing with a PCI, and then the timing being kind of secondary to that. The fact that that is going to be more important is a good thing, I guess. But the swing analysis, they're also putting more emphasis on that and kind of fine-tuning that to where it gives you more accurate results. They also added a new category of contact result called squared up, which if you get a squared up result, that's really going to let you know that your timing was perfect, that your PCI placement was perfect, that you really nailed that ball. And if you didn't get a good result, then you probably got really unlucky, or there may be something in the coding that maybe you could complain to the devs about, you know? Maybe that's something that you would send on Twitter. And they could see that, they'd be like, oh man, he squared one up with Willie Mays, and it was a ground ball to the second baseman or something like that. You know, I mean, We don't know. We're going to have to get this into our hands to see exactly what all this is going to feel like. But from the stream, the things that they were talking about, the things that they were focusing on this year from a gameplay perspective, really, they're all the things that I kind of wanted to hear from them. They really are. They didn't leave any stone unturned, or at least any stone that I could really think of from a gameplay perspective. They really kind of covered all their bases in terms of the problematic things that I had with MLB The Show 18. Seems like they're trying to clean it up for 19. So that's a great thing. I was really impressed by the stream. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts were on it. And leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, by the way, guys, I just want to tell you guys this, because maybe this will be a thing that I should start doing, because I don't know, I guess it would just be kind of cool, you know, just to talk about like another YouTuber that I really like, that I've been watching and I've been really entertained by, and I think you guys would be too, and you guys should go and watch it. There is a YouTube channel called Jelly's Marble Runs. It is the coolest fucking YouTube channel I've ever seen in my life. Their channel actually got taken down about a year ago, and they're in the process of re-uploading it. But they have something called the Marble Olympics, and it's basically like fucking marbles that are competing in like their own little Olympic games, and they have like different teams, and you end up following the team that you like. I don't know why I'm talking about it right now, but I've become addicted to it. It's like crack cocaine. It really is. I've watched every single one of their videos, and I'm just like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, dude, I need them to upload again, because it is so damn addictive. If you guys are looking for something to do, looking for a video to watch, looking for something new to get into, Jelly's Marble Runs. I'll leave a link to their channel down in the description. I may start doing this a little more often. They're a much bigger creator than I am, so this isn't going to help them a lot. This is more for you guys. But I may start doing this where I find, you know, bigger creators and smaller creators, guys that I find entertaining, and just kind of adding them down in the description at the end of every video. I just think that'd be kind of a nice thing to do, you know? So anyways, I love you guys. I will see you guys later, but until then, peace.